Alright, so CD Projekt just had their Q1 2023 earnings conference and showcase, which has shined some lights on some very interesting topics, including rumors about Phantom Liberty releasing next month, the planned marketing timeline, acquisition of CD Projekt by Sony PlayStation, and more. There's a lot to go over in this video, so as always, it will be timestamped from start to finish, so you can jump around as you please. But without further ado, let's roll the intro. Alright, so we need to start with the hottest of topics, that being Phantom Liberty, as CD Projekt revealed that as of the end of April, the Phantom Liberty team working on the final phase of the project was over 320 people strong, making them their biggest team, noting again that the marketing campaign for Phantom Liberty is kicking off soon, and that less than 2 weeks from now, they'll be taking part in Summer Game Fest Playdays in Los Angeles, where they'll have hands-on sessions for press and content creators. Further reminding that at a later date, they're also planning plenty of hands-on opportunities for the community. And in their press release, it even added that they are also planning a range of other events around the world, and we'll have more information to share in the coming weeks. Now, they also shared that internally, both development-wise and publishing-wise, they're fully focused on preparations for the most important event of the year, that being, of course, the launch of Phantom Liberty, which is thankfully them reaffirming once again that things are on track for a release this year. So I don't think it'll be getting pushed out of 2023 like some people have thought. And they are being very tight-lipped when it comes to a release date, as even during the Q&A section, they were asked to add some clarity around the Phantom Liberty release dates and whether it's more likely to be in the third or fourth quarter, but all we got was, and I quote here, "We're not getting specific on the release date. We'll give more details come June, so very, very soon, as we have previously mentioned." Now, this led to another question as to what they actually plan on revealing at Summer Game Fest, where they responded, and I again quote here, "It's meant to be a surprise. So if it's still meant to be surprised, come June, I cannot disclose it here, but we seriously hope it's going to be worth it for you and for the fans of the game." So they're truly battling against even the slightest of hint as to where it could land, but surprisingly, they did give us some insight for the development timeline of Projekt Orion, that being the Cyberpunk sequel, in which they stated, "We believe the studio should start operation beginning of 2024. However, we already have some expenses related to Projekt Orion and Project Hater, but once the studio is set up and starts operating in 2024, the green bar should increase." So the development on the next Cyberpunk game should start sometime in 2024. I believe the previous goal was the end of 2023, so things have seemingly shifted a bit, but I don't think that's any cause for alarm, as it is a new studio being formed, and it's probably going to take them a bit to get their feet on the ground. Now, I'm sure that many of you have also heard about a rumor going around recently, one that has honestly been circulating on and off for the last 1 to 2 years from my recollection, that being Sony PlayStation looking to acquire CD Projekt. And while this rumor has no backing to it whatsoever, it keeps being recycled in the community and by game journalists. So thankfully, it was actually brought up during the Q&A section, in which they responded, and I quote here, "Nothing has changed on our end. I can repeat what we've been saying throughout the years. So the practice is not for sale. We want to remain independent. We have, I believe, excellent strategy. Not easy to execute for sure, but it's very exciting to follow our own path. So it's a pure rumor." Now, obviously, if they were going through the process of being acquired by Sony, they wouldn't be able to say here, but I do think it's interesting nonetheless to hear them respond to it, as the firmness in their response, I at least felt, was very telling. It seems like a genuine response, and they're not interested in being acquired, at least at this time. And if I'm honest, the Sony acquisition rumor never made a lot of sense to me, mainly because PlayStation acquisitions are, for the most part, smaller, unknown studios that fit into the family well. CD Projekt, on the other hand, is a large-scale publisher who also has a massive PC game store. You may have heard of it. It's called GOG.com, which, by the way, you can find my GOG partner link down in the description or the pinned comment to help support the channel. That being said, it's not impossible for such an acquisition to happen. I just think it's very unlikely and doesn't make a lot of sense for either party, at least not at this time. And there has been no credible source suggesting this is legitimate, so I'd suggest ignoring it for now, especially considering acquisitions aren't usually the sort of thing to leak, as it's usually only lawyers and executives involved in the process, so not exactly people willing to risk their jobs or potentially even a license to leak such information. Now, they also planned some exciting news for their other little-known franchise, as The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt hit 50 million copies sold, which, according to public data, makes it among the 10 best-selling video games of all time, with the entire trilogy reaching over 75 million copies sold. This is exciting news for the franchise, which leads us to the Polaris team, which is supposedly still growing and has reached 220 developers. To clarify, for those of you unaware, Polaris is the next major game in the Witcher franchise, so think of it as The Witcher 4. And 220 developers is quite a sizable team, which shows us they're really ramping up parallel development on their two franchises, soon to be 3, and they haven't even formed the studio dedicated to Cyberpunk yet. Now, they did also bring up Projekt Sirius, which, as we noted in the last video, has been soft rebooted, and they did have some unfortunate layoffs, which according to CD Projekt was due to a new framework for Projekt Sirius's development, which was actually decided on back in May. They did note that it's already set on its new ambitious course, so I am very interested to see what this multiplayer game will have to offer for Witcher fans, and if it's anything people are actually interested in. They also noted that due to the end of support for Gwent, the development team has been getting moved over to other projects or let go over the past year. So there has been an increasing amount of layoffs at CD Projekt as a whole. But this comes at the same time of them hiring for current and new studios, such as the new Red team over in Vancouver. And despite the amount of layoffs, they're ramping up development and increasing in size. So there will be plenty for us to discuss in the coming years. And while that's everything we learned from this Q1 2023 report, I do want to remind you to calm expectations for a release of Phantom Liberty in June or July. And if you want to know why, I'd suggest watching my recent video on the subject. But that's it for this video. Thanks as always for watching, and until next time, this is Apoqsi, signing off.